motherfucker, you can't have my cornbread. That's for damn sure. Because if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree gonna begin up in here on your ass right now. If you think about my cornbread, get the taste out your mouth. That's for damn sure. Now fuck him, fuck that, because I'm from New York City, goddammit. Nobody take no cornbread from me. That goes for you and any other you motherfucking farmers wanna try some shit. You fuck around with me, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
What up, what up, what up? What's good? What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Trey, Fraser, Maestro Styles.
Yes, sir.
We're in the building tonight, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Make sure you guys follow us on our social media platforms, on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast, also on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. Shout out to everybody that's watching us on Facebook Live right now. You can follow the Facebook page so you can get those notifications of when we do these Facebook Live shows. And also shout out to our YouTube watchers also. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We approaching the All-Star break, man. What's good, man? What's popping?
Cooler, man, cooler. I get my Pittsburgh Steelers bias out the way now. Happy birthday to Ben Roethlisberger. I still want you to retire, but you are a Hall of Fame quarterback.
He coming back.
Yeah, he coming back. And I don't want him to, but Hall of Fame quarterback. In my eyes, the best quarterback, the best Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback to ever wear the jersey. Happy birthday. And Steelers fan rant ends or appreciation ends.
Well, I'll get to a little bit of team bias a little bit later in the show. I gotta talk about my Knicks at some point, but just a little off sports topic for a minute, and then we'll get into all the sports stuff. So I found out yesterday that today was supposed to be, I guess, Dr. Seuss Day or some other, I guess they name it something else, but like there was a lot of stuff going on about how kids were supposed to be getting into these Dr. Seuss books and all that. So, and it just so happened that my daughter Natalie came home yesterday, and every day she's got a little spreadsheet with teachers' comments and stuff. So it was show and tell today. So the topic for show and tell was you had to bring something that was Dr. Seuss related. So we're like, okay, we don't have any toys or anything like that. Like we ain't got no Cat in the Hat stuff. We ain't got no Grinch stuff, floating around. But then I forgot Nate had a book. He had a Dr. Seuss book in his bookshelf. So I was like, I bet, we'll just, send that with her. So I just happened to get on Twitter and Dr. Seuss was trending. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Like, her school wants them to, bring some Dr. Seuss stuff tomorrow. And now Dr. Seuss is trending. So apparently there is a school district in Virginia. I don't know if it's Northern Virginia or what, but there's some place down in Virginia that has banned all Dr. Seuss books because long before he started creating these books, Dr. Seuss was a racist, right? So
why does that not surprise me?
It gets better. It gets better. So Tariq Nasheed, everybody know who Tariq Nasheed is. He posted some stuff. Like there was some cartoons that Dr. Seuss drew back in the day that had the word nigger on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. No wonder this dude's trending. Like we starting to put this dude out, on a reel to reel. You know what I'm saying? And there was like other cartoons that had he drew black people, with the blackface and stuff, like all that stuff. And the cartoon was talking about you could buy these niggas for so and so. I'm paraphrasing, but
sure.
It was to that extent. And I'm like, all right, I got to boycott now, or I just got to not have no Dr. Seuss stuff in the crib anymore. Yeah, that's where my mind immediately went, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, so me and Debbie was talking about it, and she was like, look, so you're gonna send your daughter to school without, the only person in school without nothing for show and tell. And I was like, well, I mean, now that you say it that way, and I know how Natalie gets with show and tell, she wants show and tell to be every day. So I know how she gets with it. And yeah, she would definitely be extremely disappointed if she didn't go to school with what the teacher wanted them to bring. So I let it ride. She took the book today. But I bring this all up just to say that I think it's good that the real Dr. Seuss, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all that stuff, gets brought to light, because I just learned that. I had no idea about those cartoons before he did all those books. I had no idea of any of that. So I learned something new about Dr. Seuss last night. And I think it's good that this gets put out into the universe.
Yeah, we should know about that. What'd you do with the book?
It's still in her book bag, actually.
Okay.
Usually I go through her stuff when we get home, but I kind of had to go in and out, so it's still in the book bag. Probably I don't know. My head is just swirling right
because
now.
Here's the thing. If this is a national holiday, those types of things, then it's going to happen next year.
Where the stuff gets brought up, right?
Where this whole where I don't know what the curriculum is at Nat school, but who's to say next year we don't do show and tell in her next grade next year on Dr. Seuss Day. And then these conversations present themselves again.
Yep, that is true. So I just pulled up something about this just real quickly here. So I didn't know there was a Dr. Seuss Enterprises, but apparently this is this company here.
Yeah, of course.
So it says that the business that preserves and protects the author's legacy, right? It announced that it will no longer publish 6 books because of racist and insensitive imagery. So some of the books, and I never heard of this one, it says To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. I never heard of that one.
Heard of it.
And
I don't remember it. I've heard of it. I don't remember it, but...
Okay. I never heard of that one. And then the other one they're listing here is If I Ran the Zoo. And by the sound of that name, I don't like what could potentially be the imagery of that. But yeah, so they're aware. They're aware of some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, of course they are.
They're doing the right thing by pulling these books off the shelf.
Okay, so does that make you feel different about watching The Grinch at Christmas time?
I don't watch The Grinch at Christmas time.
Oh, okay.
Now
my kids do. So
my daughter loves watching The Grinch.
So you do watch The Grinch at Christmas time?
No, I don't. She does.
I mean, it's in your house. I mean, sure, you don't wake up on a Friday night.
I don't visually watch it, but I guess you're trying to say is if it's on in the house, then it's a part of your.
It's a part of your house. So
you and I, we watch The Grinch. Then is that what you're?
I mean, hell, Pharrell narrated The Last Grinch. I love The Last Grinch.
Okay.
And the soundtrack is good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I liked Thing 1 and Thing 2 when the book came out.
Yeah.
So there's some Dr. Seuss stuff that I know, Green Eggs and Ham, and cat in the hat and all that. But yeah, man. Again, I'm glad that this is being brought to light. I'm glad that the company that is trying to preserve his legacy or is preserving his legacy is taking this action. I'm glad that the school district in Virginia took that action. It should just be something that should be known. We can't just continue to hide this stuff.
I don't think nobody was hiding it. I think honestly, what I think is that it was something that they did in a time when people were racist, and the book should be corrected. I mean, those books that project those negative imagery should be taken off the shelf like they have, and they've done that. So to me, at this point, water under the bridge is not a good way to describe it, but they dealt with it. They dealt with it. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
They did. And as you can imagine, there are folks that have canceled all of their Dr. Seuss books or anything.
And that's their business. But you would have to inherently know that the people that run that company now are racist. I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like they saw a problem and fixed it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. They just had to get in front of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they was in front of it or not, but I know there was a problem and they fixed it. So, what you want me to say? What you want me to? I mean, if they were currently writing racist books or writing books that had racist rhetoric in it, okay, then that's a
right. Now let me be clear. They weren't racist. They weren't racist books. They were racist cartoon strips.
Okay, well, I mean, whatever.
Dr. Seuss started doing these books.
Sure, any publications.
No, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, okay, that. All right. Well, whatever he was doing.
But you're right.
Yeah,
you're right though. Any publications, yeah. So,
yeah.
So I guess as we approach this All-Star weekend, man, this will be the first half of the NBA season wrapping up, and I gotta tell you, I just got a couple of things that's kind of stick out to me, in the past week leading up to this point. The Knicks had a good week. Your Wizards, they had somewhat of a good week, I think.
We still won 8 of the last 10, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean,
mm-hmm. Well, that's why I said y'all had a good week.
You said somewhat of a good
won
week.
Like 2 games over the week, I think. I thought y'all went like 2-2 or something like that. I mean, that's 500 for the week. So. Here you go again, insinuating that I'm hating on the Wizards, man.
I just feel like, bruh. I just feel like.
You feel like what?
I just feel, brother. That's all. I just feel I'm an emotional, sensitive person. I just feel like when you say things like they somewhat, like what was the Knicks week? What was the Knicks record last week?
The Knicks record last week was 3-1.
All right, so y'all won one game.
They beat up on a terrible basketball team, but that's what you're supposed to do.
I mean,
you beat up on them.
No, I just feel like somewhat. I feel you though.
Okay, the Wizards had a good week.
Hey, brother, I didn't ask you to say.
And maybe it's because when you look at the standings, they're still where they're at. I think they're like number 11, 12 in the standings. I think maybe it's that, but yeah, throughout this past week, they had a good week. But I tell you who's not had a good week, and that is the former coach of the Atlanta Hawks, Lloyd Pierce, who was let go just yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't like it, man. I don't like the cutting of the cord and.
But didn't Nate McMillan get an interim job behind it?
He did, and I tell you something else I learned. Speaking of learning stuff, I had no idea he was on the Hawks.
Neither did I.
I had no idea until they said that he was going to be the interim. So, but I don't like this from a number of reasons. Obviously, again, another black coach that has a short leash and is not given the opportunity to see this team, go through its, ups and downs until the season finishes. We got that. I think the other thing too is, man, you look at this Eastern Conference, bruh. Like, I know they were 14-20 right now, but they're 2.5 games from the 8th spot.
Yeah,
Like,
but
there's time for the Hawks to really make some things happen. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we sort of predicted that they was going to be a playoff team.
I stand by it.
There was some expectations of this team,
Well,
and maybe go ahead.
What do you think? Who do you think has a better chance of achieving our expectations? Nate McMillan or Lloyd Pierce, who it's been very public that Trey Young and Lloyd Pierce have had a strained relationship, along with a few other younger players.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they've had a strained relationship since Trey Young has been there. So as much as I would hate the firing, or as much as I hate the firing of a black coach, they're 14-20 they probably were the most active in free agency. And they picked up all these guys. They're 14-20, and Trey Young isn't happy. Your star player isn't happy. The guy that you drafted and expected and is expected, you want to keep him, obviously.
Right.
He's your bread and butter. He's not happy. So what do? You bring in a more experienced coach. I mean, even if just for an interim situation, I can't imagine how Nate McMillan. I'll be honest with you. I can't imagine how Nate McMillan wasn't the coach going in if he was hired on the staff.
Mm-hmm. Like you think like they had this sort of set up, like they
no, because Jason Kidd is on a bench, but he's not a head coach. You know what I'm saying? So there are coaches who've had coached more.
But you know the story there, right? The story was with the Lake. You're talking about he's on the Lakers bench, right?
Mm-hmm.
The story was eventually he was going to get that job because Frank Vogel wasn't going to get them to where they needed to go.
Then why hire Frank Vogel?
That kind of, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm saying that's what people were saying once they put that coaching staff together. So obviously Frank Vogel and those guys, well, not that he proved them wrong. And I think Frank Vogel is a good coach, but when you got LeBron James on your team, LeBron is LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So all the noise about Jason Kidd taking Frank Vogel's coaching spot at some point, that got quieted real quick once they got the chip last year.
Yeah, well then more to my argument, Lloyd Pierce didn't.
No, he didn't. But
I mean,
if you're gonna fire him, wait till the end of the year and see what happens.
Why?
And not only that, I just realized that there's like this play-in scenario this year. So like the 9 and the 10 seed could actually compete to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you got that and you 14-20 and you in a bad Eastern Conference where the Knicks, we the 4 seed, we're a game over 500 and the teams right behind us are right at 500. Like that's almost like a 3-game separation between the 4th spot and the 14th spot in the East. So who's to say the Hawks can't make up ground if they just, kept the train rolling, with the same guy?
Yeah. In most situations, I'm with you in that regard. That makes sense to me. But I mean, at the end of the day, your star player is not happy, and the guy who's interim, being the interim coach, is Nate McMillan. Some would say that Lloyd Pierce should have been the assistant once Nate McMillan was talking about coming to Atlanta. He was probably on a short leash, and Nate McMillan is a proven coach. I think I got a better chance of my prediction being right of the Hawks going to the playoffs with Nate McMillan coaching than I do with Lloyd Pierce coaching.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you're talking about the track record and everything, yeah, that makes perfect sense to do that. And I'll just point something else out here too. This is sort of a un it's sort of an unreal situation when it comes to, what this country is going through with the pandemic and how the NBA has had to make adjustments with teams playing in the bubble in the playoffs last season. And now teams are kind of, coming right back at it, on a shortened off season for some teams. And when you look at the standings and particularly in the East, um, there's teams that we expected to be in the playoffs, and be good throughout the entire season, got off to some slow starts.
Mm-hmm.
The Miami Heat got off to a slow start.
The Raptors.
The Toronto Raptors got off to a slow start. The Boston Celtics got off to a slow start and are still somewhat, trying to figure themselves out. So if we're going by that and we have expectations that those are teams that eventually are going to get themselves together before seasons end, if we have a similar expectation of the Hawks, and I'm just talking about just making the playoffs, I'm not talking about making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, because I don't think the Hawks are in any, not even a position to even make the second round, in my opinion. But if we're just talking about making the playoffs, I just think you got to give certain teams some time to play catch up, given that some teams are coming off the bubble. It's a shortened off season. The off season is different in terms of preparation and training camp. And I guess if you want to throw in the fact that the Hawks weren't invited to the bubble and they've had a longer off season. So if you want to argue that point, then I could see, somebody coming at me to say, well, hey, Trey, what about the Hawks not playing for almost 8 months?
Well, then you're saying my point for them. They don't have the cachet that the Boston Celtics or the Toronto Raptors have. So
yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't trying to insinuate that they did, but I just think that when you look at these standings and you look at, they got another 30 something games to go, and you just got to see, who's gonna separate from the rest of the pack.
Give me Nate McMillan to do that over Lloyd Pierce. That's just as simple as my argument.
And I will say that just based off of the track record, Nick McMillan has taken teams to the playoffs in the past, and I'm not just talking with the Pacers. I mean, didn't he coach the Sonics back in the day, and the Blazers? I would totally agree with that. But I would like to see Lloyd Pierce get another coaching opportunity.
He got to go back to the drawing board, work his way back up the ranks. I mean, I'm sure he'll get a coaching job, not necessarily a head coaching job, but I'm sure he'll get a coaching job. He'll get his opportunity to work his way back up. If you're going to tell me the whole thing, well, white coaches don't have to do that, you're 100% right.
Look at Luke Walton.
Out
in Sacramento.
100%. You're right. That's the plight that a black coach faces. Hope it works out for him this next time coming around.
Yeah, Luke Walton got protection though.
Oh yeah, and that just is what it is.
Yeah, not only is he white, but his daddy is a well-known former NBA player and Hall of Famer. Yeah. So, I mean, just look at Luke Walton's coaching track record. He coached the Lakers 2 years, right? Was it a year or 2 years?
2 years.
Okay, they didn't go nowhere. They didn't make the playoffs, and then the Kings get him just a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's still trying to make the playoffs with that team. So he's coached 4 years and hasn't been to the playoffs. So there's a lot wrong there, and we know what it is.
Yep,
we know what it is. So,
you excited about I'm sorry. You excited about the All-Star game?
Hell no, I'm not.
Will you watch it? Will you watch All-Star Sunday?
I probably will, because there's not going to be anything else on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll probably peep game. I am interested to see Obi Toppin in the dunk contest, though. So I probably check that out
Mm.
because I think they're doing something different, right? Like they're
Everything's
having
in one day. I think it's during halftime or something like that.
right, yeah. I'll check that out. Are you gonna watch the All-Star game?
I'm gonna tell you, yeah, but by Sunday, probably not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who knows, man? I've been watching the Equalizer on Sundays, man.
I tell you what, I will not be watching The Equalizer. I will not be watching Queen Latifah be the Equalizer.
The show's good so far, in my opinion. The show's good.
Sure, I don't want to get into your Sunday night television watching.
I was just saying it was good. That's it. No more commentary on that. But I was gonna say the other thing that caught my attention last week is that the Houston Rockets are on this 12-game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I've watched any of their games. I know the Nets have played them, I think a couple times. The Knicks played them, I think, a couple weeks ago, and we beat them then. I think the eye on, because if the Rockets keep on this free fall, Victor Oladipo might be a dude that they might want to, trade and get some assets back.
He already want to go to the Heat, apparently.
Oh, word?
Yeah, there's a story going around there. He wants to go to the Heat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Which I would like, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a good.
That would be a very good trade.
That would be a good trade for him. Now, what do you think the Heat would have to give up to get him?
Oh, I don't know. Probably draft picks. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm not. I don't have no. I'm just saying that right now, knowing that the Heat made it to the finals this time. Oh, not this time, but last year. Just on essentially Jimmy Butler's back, to get a second dominant scorer would be really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Would be really good for them and their chances of going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk in New York about the Knicks possibly making a trade for Victor Oladipo. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I think it just depends on what they give up to go get him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's averaging 19 points a game, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. I think if you don't have to give up much for him, then I would say okay, go for it. But if
what's too much?
Too much would be R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quigley, and maybe a draft pick or two.
So too much would be a player and a draft pick. Those specific players
or players and a draft pick. Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be too much. Like I think a couple of second rounders. I would go a couple of second rounders and maybe one of those three guys, whether it's Barrett, Quigley, or Obi.
Okay.
I think that would be a much more softer compensation than just giving up all the first and plus players.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but that would be interesting with the Heat if he ends up there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what's wrong with the Rockets. I haven't watched any of their games.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I felt like the Rockets were going to be a good team. Meaning, I mean,
you had them in the playoffs, though.
I don't think I did, Trey. I don't think I did.
I think we got to go back to the videotape.
We might have to, because I would love to know what my thought process was. They're not a good team to me.
Okay.
I think I
had them out.
Oh, I think I might have had him in if we were talking about with James Harden, but I had him if James Harden was on the team. Because James Harden was on the team, then maybe that's why I said
Did you paint the scenario that if he somehow got traded?
Yeah. And in fact, I said exactly, I'm going to treat it as if James Harden is not going anywhere. And if James Harden is not going anywhere, they're a playoff team. I think I had him at a 6 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had them out, but I didn't necessarily have them being this bad, right? So we know the Western Conference is a loaded conference. And I thought that they would probably end up 9th or 10th, but they'd probably still be over 500 in the West. But I don't know. I guess they just falling in love with too much small ball, man.
Yeah, I mean, call a spade a spade. John Wall is a great player. He's not this scorer. He's not that scorer that's going to take them over the top like James Harden was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's crazy. Anything catch your eye in the NBA over the week?
Oh, in NBA? No.
In the NBA?
No.
Oh.
I have some conversations that are near and dear to my heart, though.
Okay, well, hey, get one started.
So
go ahead, get one started.
Nah, man, I have two things that came across my radar today, man. So I'm sure you, or maybe you do or don't know, but those, can I venture into wrestling for a second?
Wrestling.
We
talking wrestling on the.
We
on the
are talking
today?
wrestling today. Bow Wow is planning on joining the WWE. That's not where my story goes though. So, let's say this. So, in short, Soulja Boy came out with a tweet that said, and quote, "Rap game faker than WWE." How do you feel about that statement?
Rap game faker than the WWE. I don't rock with that statement.
Tell me why.
Not at all.
Really?
You said the rap.
The rap game is faker. The rap game,
faker.
not the music, not the genre, not the music you listen to and love.
So maybe that's what I'm. But that's where my mind. That's where my mind went. Because I'm like, okay, those bars is like the bars they spit. That's real. At least for some of the guys, not all the guys.
Trey, I think that is one of the realest tweets ever. Most of these niggas are lying. When we were growing up,
well, yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Most of these niggas are lying. Even the people that live some of that, live some of the stuff they're talking about. Even they exercising hyperbole. So that's a real tweet.
So let's compare the talent of being a rapper to the talent of being a wrestler.
Well, that's not what
he's insinuating then.
No. But let me say this. Obviously, I don't know what he means, but what I think he means is that there is like, for instance, rap beef. A lot of that shit don't be really real. So, much like wrestling, they go out there and be like, oh, they wrestle and they talk about they hate you and they fight each other and argue and bicker amongst each other, and it's a show. It's for us or wrestling fans to be entertained.
Yeah, right.
Such as rap. Such as rap. Maybe more so now than ever. But a lot of that shit just be fake. People be beefing and it don't be real. It's like they say very personal things sometimes in records and see each other and it don't be on site. You know what I'm saying? Like they like people threaten each other on rap records. I'm gonna shoot you, whoop whoop whoop.
Yep.
And niggas don't be getting shot. You know what I'm saying? So and that's not to say I'm advocating people getting shot. That's just saying that that's what happens. So I watch people on Instagram all the time talking about what they gonna do to somebody and whoop whoop whoop. And
I saw 6ix9ine. Last week.
It's just like,
come on, man.
6ix9ine. That's six. The reason why 6ix9ine was so effective is because he did a whole bunch of barking and no fucking biting.
Yep.
But to further the story, wrestling legend Randy Orton responded to Soulja Boy and basically was like, "See me." Like you think this shit is fake? We go out every 200 days out of 365. We be hurt, we be injured, and we come out here and we perform every night. Come out here and see it. Like I don't remember the tweet verbatim, but he called Soulja Boy a bitch on Twitter. Like they was going back and forth like on some Twitter rant shit saying that wrestling is emphatically not fake. When while the physical, the physicality of wrestling is not fake.
Yeah.
I think Randy Orton clearly missed the message that Soulja Boy was trying to convey, meaning the rap game is fake, like how you will Randy Orton to go out there and tell I don't watch wrestling, so I will go tell his adversary, get on there and I'ma fucking kill whoever the other wrestler is. And when they get off the stage and out of the camera, they cool. That's what they mean. One of the there are world-renowned wrestling beefs, and those two wrestlers are best friends.
So that comparison where you're talking about guys barking at each other and no bite, yeah. That
these niggas be a lot of these niggas be friends. I think these niggas be friends a lot of times.
Yeah. Like in the rap game. These guys.
I think labels or managers or whoever speak with one another and say, "Ooh, both of our numbers will go crazy if you say I don't like you and you's a bitch ass nigga, and then you respond with I will fucking kill you, and we eat that shit up." And a lot of times that shit don't be real.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe we're having a wrestling topic related to the rap game on the show today.
I just it's real. It's not wrestling is for those who don't know. These stories in wrestling.
If you don't know by now,
the stories and the beef, a lot of that shit be fake. Now I don't doubt that some wrestlers have real issues with other wrestlers. That's that's just human nature for somebody to have an issue with somebody else. But the shit that you see on camera, y'all, is not real. They don't really dislike each other more times than that, I think.
Yeah, it's just to put on the show.
No, I remember when my nieces and nephews, my sister was telling me a story about how my nieces and nephews, this happened maybe 3 or 4 years ago. She took them to one of the wrestling events. I think it was WrestleMania or some shit, whatever it was. And because it was in Georgia that year. And I think that's when they realized, oh shit, this ain't real. It's entertaining, I'm sure, for those who watch it, but it's not real. Randy Orton, you gotta relax, brother. Nobody's telling you, nobody's taking shots at your job. We know that you work hard. We know, like anybody who know the work you put in as a wrestler. If I could respect Stone Cold Steve Austin, if I could respect The Undertaker, Bret Hart, rest in peace, Shawn Michaels, wrestlers have died behind this shit. Ultimate Warrior, Eddie Guerrero, Bammers have died behind this wrestling shit, and so Chris Benoit, I'm not a big wrestling fan. I just know because I listen to rap. Rappers love wrestling, so I know by just listening to rap records. But the shit is fake, and the storylines and all that is just like the rap game. Randy Orton, nobody in no shape, form, or fashion, I don't think anyway, was insulting
Mm-hmm.
the physical work and the mental strain it may take to do your job on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
But the stories are fake. You're going out and you're performing, and there's
I
nothing wrong with it, by the way.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, and I'll just kind of echo again that earlier comparison where you're just talking about guys barking and just not really ain't about the smoke and really just being friends, but just kind of faking it, for the camera. That's true. That's true in both the rap game and in wrestling. When you first brought this up, my mind just immediately went to the lyrics and I agree. Some of the lyrics that these guys rap about, they don't live it. I mean, most of these guys don't live it.
Yeah, them niggas be lying too.
But for the dudes that have lived the lyrics that they spit, I'm gonna keep them in consideration and say, okay, y'all just a tad more realer. These professional wrestlers there just from that context.
Sure, but even
but
those,
I get you.
But even those dudes exercise in hyperbole.
Yeah, they do. I agree
Every
with that 100%.
every,
and again, it's all for show. It's all for the camera.
Even if it's just to paint the picture. Even if it's just to paint the picture, yeah. Even if it's just to paint the picture of the message they're trying to convey in that record. I mean, It's poetry. Poetry exercises in figurative language. It don't necessarily, that's just what it is. That by definition, it exercises figurative language. If it's a metaphor, if it's a simile, if it's hyperbole, they exercise in figurative language to get their point across, to convey to you it's that real to them, even if it's not. But
right.
But rap is the wrestling game.
Yeah. You got something else?
I do, man. Man.
Yeah.
These are the stories that were near and dear to my heart today. So jersey retirements. You remember the conversation that we had about jersey retirements? I think we were talking about Todd Gurley.
I think Kevin Garnett was a name we discussed, right?
Well, I think the story that I remember was when we spoke about Todd Gurley taking Deion Sanders' jersey number.
Okay.
And that, we talked about why Deion Sanders' jersey number wasn't retired.
Number 21.
So number 21, this, that, and the third. So, I've come to find out, today that teams do emphatically retire jersey numbers. So, that I think
you mean in general? You found that out?
Yes, in general, they do that. I can give you an example of a player. I can give you an example of players' jersey numbers.
I guess I'm stunned that you found this out. In general, I guess that's where I'm surprised at.
Well, Pat Tillman of the Arizona Cardinals jersey's number is retired.
Yes. Yes.
Are
we talking just NFL?
I'm talking NFL for this story in particular. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, did you know that Steve Largent's jersey was retired and emphatically unretired for Jerry Rice?
I didn't know that.
Yes, Steve Largent didn't like it, never said anything because he didn't want to make it seem like it was a big deal. There is a player for the Denver Broncos whose name is Frank Tripica. His number 18 was retired by the Denver Broncos and unretired for Peyton Manning.
I remember that story though. That does sound familiar. I didn't know who the player was, but I do recall that when they first signed Peyton, that he wanted number 18, and they was bullying homeboy to give up that 18.
Okay, so the story of the day. The Arizona Cardinals had a player by the name of Marshall Goldberg, who played for the Cardinals the last time they won a championship. And his number 99 was retired in 2006, shortly after Marshall Goldberg passed.
Okay.
The number has been officially unretired
Because of J.J. Watt?
for J.J. Watt.
Really?
Yes. Now, I was ready to kill. I was ready to attack J.J. Watt and all those things before I found out that the daughter of Marshall Goldberg approved approved J.J. Watt to wear the number. So no issue there. My issue is that the Arizona Cardinals, the franchise, didn't let nobody know nothing. Like J.J. Watt didn't know, but J.J. Watt didn't know that this player existed, that the number was retired, or none of that when he signed this contract. Obviously he's 2 years, 31 million, 23 guaranteed. Yep. That number was retired, and have he not had worked that out with the descendant of the daughter of Marshall Goldberg, the Cardinals was willing to tarnish the legacy, and that's the way I see it. In my opinion, that's just the way I see it. Tarnish the legacy of that player that you decided to honor. So who's to say they won't do that to Pat Tillman 30 years from now? Right. Who's to say that they won't do that to Larry Fitzgerald if they decide to retire his number when he retires one day? I have an issue with the Cardinals organization for them to feel like, and not just them, any organization. I was just gonna say any organization.
Because you mentioned the Broncos and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it.
So
I don't like it.
Yeah. So here's my opinion on it, and I'm glad that you kind of stuck it to just the NFL, because I was more so in a general, I was thinking about it from a general standpoint, including the NBA, baseball, and whatever. I know the Celtics have like 20, 30 different retired numbers.
Yeah.
And at some point,
they're coming out.
They're going to have to, bring those numbers out. I mean, you could retire so many numbers, right? So I don't know any NFL team that has that many retired numbers. So that's what makes it so difficult for me to side with any team that does this. Yeah, I mean, if you look around the league, there might be at best, I say this at best, and I'm just guessing, 8 to 9 retired numbers per team.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about teams like the Steelers, the Niners, Dallas, Green Bay.
Let me say this. Let me just for context. Dallas has not retired a jersey number. I think it's the Raiders that haven't, and there's another team I'm forgetting. But
Bengals maybe.
I don't remember what the third team was, but I was literally reading this before we got.
Or maybe it's the Bengals. Maybe it's the Bengals don't have a Ring of Honor. I think that's what it is. I've heard conversations about Cincinnati not honoring their alumni, but I think it was in the context of them not having a Ring of Honor, not so much retiring a person's number. But I can't side with the team on that when you don't have that many retired numbers to begin with.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: the NFL ain't going nowhere. So, 50 years down the line, I mean, if we gotta play speculation, I mean, we got guys that might deserve some number retiring. Patrick Mahomes, Eric Donald, Tom Brady. Like the Patriots would be
even some of the players that aren't playing now that don't have their jersey numbers retired.
Jerome Bettis, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, like Ray Lewis. There's plenty of players who you would think, for what they meant to the franchise, their numbers should be retired. So if they start hanging their hats on that, because look, man, there's a lot of, I guess I'm, talking in circles. There's a lot of players that should have their number retired. And officially, I am officially now, because of this here, I am officially now of the belief that numbers should not be retired in sports. Give them a ring of honor. Give them.
I would say let it be the ring of honor, and that's just it. Because numbers are numbers, and again, just kind of going back to the Celtics example, at some point you're gonna run out of numbers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So, the NFL is not there yet, where a franchise, has that many retired numbers.
Right.
So if they decided we're gonna keep the tradition of retiring numbers, then I'm fine with it. I would also be fine with it if a player got traded, and I'll use J.J. Watt as an example. I know he wasn't traded; he signed in free agency. If a player wants a number, then he's got to pay for. Number one. He's got to, if that number's retired, he's got to talk to that person, or he's got to talk to the family that 100%. Represents that person.
100%.
You can't just come out to the organization and say, "Hey, I want this number," and then the organization grants your wish. Now, I don't know if that was the case.
That is the case.
Cardinals.
I don't know about
the
Cardinals.
Case.
I don't know about what the Cardinals did. I know that the daughter has approved. He said he didn't know. He said it's to Watt said to a reporter he didn't know, and then that he went and spoke to the daughter of Marshall Goldberg, and she approved. She even put out a statement saying, with Wow, it's an honor and all those things. I'm sure that my father would be okay with it, so I'm okay with it.
Right.
So there's no. I have an issue with the teams because this article that I was reading in Pro Football that where I heard all this, they were saying something to the effect of, would J.J. Watt have signed with the Cardinals if there would have been an issue with him wearing his number?
I think that's a pretty good question.
And if they thought that it might be an issue, they might not say nothing to him because they want to make sure they sign him, get him in the building, and then try to flesh it out. But now J.J. Watt feeling some kind of way about who he playing for because he can't wear his number.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I had no idea that even players consider that. That's.
And I don't know that they do or don't. I mean, I know numbers are a thing. I mean, we just talked about last week about Carson Wentz and Michael
Pittman Jr.
Yeah. So, and we're not even talking about retirees.
And I'm with Michael Pittman. If I wasn't clear last week, I'm with Michael Pittman.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, people do have, idiosyncrasies about the jersey number that they wear. So that could have been the reason that, J.J. Watt went to another team, especially because there were other teams willing to pay him more money, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, I was surprised. So yesterday, my homie at work, he was like, "Yeah, J.J. Watt got signed," and I was like, "Oh, okay, he must have went to the Browns." He was like, "Nah." "Oh, he went to Green Bay." "No."
Yeah, right.
"Oh, he went to Buffalo." "No." I was like, "What?" Because those were the three teams that were were the favorite to get J.J. Watt. And when he told me the Cardinals, I was like, the Cardinals. And I just, in the beginning, I just didn't like the fit. But then I kind of, traced back to DeAndre Hopkins. And I think he had a play in a part of getting J.J. Watt over to Arizona.
And
And
I
now
like it.
there's this talk. There's this talk now about Kyler Murray for Deshaun Watson. Now that conversation is happening, in mainstream media now.
I don't know how real that is.
I think it's a 0% chance.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. By the way, but I'll say this, man. J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones coming off. I know they're a little.
It's semi scary. Yeah,
they got a good secondary.
It's semi scary. Yeah,
they got a good secondary. They have a decent offense. I think they need a dominant running back, and we're not necessarily confident in
Kenyon Drake.
Coach. We're not necessarily. He's not a dominant running back. As respectful as I could say it. I wouldn't call him sorry.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, but if you look at this team, this is a good move, man. They are. I think they're a good running back away from being the best team in the West.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think J.J. Watt is the missing piece. They need other pieces to go along with this team. And you mentioned, the running back position, and I think they could use a dynamic runner to go along with Kyler Murray and Kenyon Drake in that backfield. I think they're good at receiver. I think they're good on defense, especially the secondary. And now you get J.J. Watt, the rush the passer, and you hope he can hold up. I know we played 16 games this past year, but
and you're not even looking at him to be to be that
No,
guy.
you're not. But he's had a history of injuries over the last 3-4 years now. J.J. Watt is not gonna be 20 sack J.J. Watt. He might be 5 or 6 sack J.J. Watt. And that just may be good enough for that defense.
I think
that may be good enough for that defense.
Yeah, I think he can get to 7 or 8.
That's possible too.
Yeah, I think he can get to 7, 8 sacks. The leadership that he's going to bring in that team, in that in that locker room. I think they are. I think if I know a lot of people say that we're not necessarily sure about the coach, and that's valid. But I think get the running game, just get a dominant runner, get the running game a little bit better. I think this is the best team. This could be the best team in the West.
Yeah. San Francisco's lurking.
They
gotta get healthy, obviously.
So are the Rams, but Matthew Stafford ain't going to be running for his life. He's going to be ducking.
Yeah, that's true. But the Rams could say the same thing. Teams that play the Rams they're going to say, y'all going to be ducking too. So
well, no, Kyler Murray can run.
Well, I said other teams. I didn't say specifically.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
But yeah, the Rams have a guy that can get after the quarterback also. I think when you look at that team, there's nobody on that defense that, you're really scared of other than Bobby Wagner. And Bobby Wagner's not a guy that rushes the passer. He's a guy that, plays the run very well. So,
and
speaking of the Seahawks, it's not. And speaking of the Seahawks, I didn't have this in my notes, but I do got to bring this up because there's been a lot of talk about Russell Wilson and his camp, and the thing that's going around is that even though he didn't request a trade, that the people in his camp have requested a trade, and there's I guess these 4 teams that
I don't know that they've even requested a trade.
Yeah, well, that's the rumor.
Okay,
anyway, that's the rumor, and there's these 4 teams, and I think the 4 teams is New Orleans, the Raiders, the Bears, and the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the 4 that seem to be a part of this story about Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think anymore, because one moment it's Russell's safe, he's not going anywhere, then it's he's unhappy with not being involved with making the decisions, then it's a source saying Russell Wilson will not, and that's in bold caps, not be traded. And now you get this story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of it, bro.
And don't forget all the rumors
Like
during the year.
Seahawks with this.
Don't forget the Giants rumors.
About what?
The Giants rumors.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I didn't forget that one. Yeah. So I don't know what to make of it. Like, is this Sierra not wanting to live in Seattle? Like, I bring that part of it up because Sierra, she's got some bank. You know what I'm saying? I mean, her career is not what it was musically, but she has a name for herself. And
I would argue that her career is better now. I would argue now that her career is better. I would argue that her career is better now than it has been the entire time she was popular.
Oh,
she owns all the masters.
And I wasn't trying to insinuate.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
and I would. Right, yeah. But I was more so saying, like, musically, like putting out albums and stuff like that. Like, she's not doing that like she once did. But not like she once did when she first came out.
Sure.
But,
yeah,
I get the sense that I get the sense that does she, I'm asking these questions in my head. Like, does she want to go to the A? She want to go back home? Does she want to go to New York? Do she want to go to LA? Like, what, is she pulling the cards here? Because we throw this narrative out there about players in the NBA from time to time. Sometimes, people mention, a player's wife, for example, wants to do this or do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember when Melo was with the Knicks, and we was about to trade him and whatnot, and people kept talking about, well, Lala's doing movies now, and she's doing this, she's got her own production company and all that stuff. So people was like, oh, he might go to LA, or he might go someplace else. So it you don't get that a lot with the NFL, with players like this. So
I don't think so much that you don't get it with the NFL. I don't know a NFL player that is married to a entertainment star the caliber of Sierra.
Mm-hmm. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know.
And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I don't know. So with that being said, I would imagine.
Well, Brady got Giselle.
And I don't know the extent of how she, I just don't know well, I'll say this: when they were living in New England,
she got bread. Apparently.
Yeah, like she can move how she want to move. I would imagine. And that's not to say Sierra can't.
Yeah, right.
I don't know I don't know how they work that dynamic out. Is Boston? How far is Boston from New York?
4 hours.
Okay, that seems like a lot to do if you were trying to work. Because Giselle's a model, that seems like a lot to travel if she's trying to work. But
even if you're in the middle, right? Like, even if you live in Connecticut, you could still get to New York in 2 hours. 2 hours, still right? Get to Boston in 2 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So not that I know where they lived, but that's a reality.
Yeah. But all that to say, getting back to the Russell Wilson trade rumors, hey man, I also heard that he wouldn't have a problem playing in Dallas.
Yeah, that was one of the teams I mentioned.
Yeah, I say that to say that Russell Wilson is the focal point of the team, but they don't have a running game or offensive line, and haven't had one for maybe 2-3 years.
For a while.
Yeah, so
and yet they still get to the playoffs every year.
Right. So while you speaking about Sierra, I could get that Russell Wilson would be a little frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I think when people hear that, they're gonna automatically go toward the money that he's making on the contract that the Seahawks gave.
It's not Russell Wilson's problem.
He deserves. to me, he deserves that contract.
And more important
Especially
than that,
if you're looking back over the course of his career of him being there, yeah, Legion of Boom or no Legion of Boom, that team has made the playoffs consistently.
Yeah,
I think they missed 1 year. I think they missed 1 year out of this whole 9 years now that he's been there.
And that's not Russell Wilson's problem.
Yeah,
y'all got to figure that out.
No,
I don't got to figure that out.
I've said this for every team that has had to pay their quarterback. You have general managers for a reason.
Exactly.
Draft your ass off.
Exactly.
Or get the
or
hell out.
however, if you get it done, if you figure out how to get it done through free agency, however you figure it out, your job is to keep your main asset happy and to win Super Bowls. That's your job as the GM. So you figure it out. I'm not. I mean, and if you're a player that would take a pay cut for all that, more power to you. But Russell Wilson is at his money window is not going to be open for that much longer.
No.
So I'm not taking no shorts right now. This is when I need to be getting paid.
Yeah, right. And you speak of the money, and I'm thinking about, okay, who's gonna take that contract if there's a thought of him being traded, right?
Well, I was listening to Stephen A. talk, and they was making it seem like that his contract right now is not as bad as we're making it out to be. And that Dallas could emphatically afford it if that were an option.
So his contract right now is probably backloaded. Like he might be getting, and I'm just throw a number out there, he might be getting 24 this past season, and then maybe he's getting those 30 millions on the back end of his contract.
Maybe. I don't know his contract, so I ain't going to pretend like I do.
And before teams even get to that point, they'll just sit down with the player and say, hey, let's just stretch this thing out over the course of, instead of 2 years, let's stretch it out to another 4 or 5 years and just split the money that way. This way there'll be some money left in the cap so that they could, try to get some other players in free agency.
Yeah. I just said all that to say Russ, well, let me say this. I don't think Russell Wilson's going anywhere. Let me just get that out the way. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think he is either. I don't think he is either.
As much
as people getting too happy with the the quarterback movement and stuff. I mean, since we've had 2 trades happen already and a possible third could be happening either before the draft or after the draft. I still say Deshaun Watson is getting traded. The Texans can tell me, they could blow smoke all they want, but he clearly doesn't want to be there. And at some point, you're going to have to take the best deal that's out there, even if it means you got to move him over to Miami, which is in your conference, or the Jets, which is in your conference. At some point, you're going to have to do that.
I also read that Dak has said, or, he deserves to be right behind Patrick Mahomes money-wise. All the way forward. Behind
Patrick Mahomes? Like in terms, so he should get a better contract than Patrick Mahomes?
No, behind. There? No, he should be right behind Patrick Mahomes' money.
Right behind Mahomes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I guess that implies he should be the second highest paid quarterback in the league.
I'd be happy for him if he could pull that off.
Even if it's not with Dallas.
Even if it's right. But I think when you looked at that Dallas season, I think he's shown you that he is the MVP of that football team. Clearly.
Yeah.
So he enhanced his paying potential by not playing.
I think Ben DiNucci,
what that team was doing without him.
I think Ben DiNucci, Andy Dalton, and Garrett Gilbert, whoever the guy was that gave Pittsburgh a run for their money, all solidified and raised Dak Prescott's stock for him. They would be setting their franchise back by not giving him whatever he want.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
in my mind, he should be paid right behind Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I think Jerry Jones needs to stop playing around and go ahead and give Dak that 5th year. I think that's been kind of the rumor that's been going around is that they want to give him 5 years and Dak just wants to get the 4-year deal. And I think that has a lot to do with the cap going up expeditiously by that time that 4th year arrives. So I think Dak is looking at that and saying, okay, I want to have an opportunity to make some more money, and that's smart.
Yeah,
that's smart on his.
They're gonna have to give him what he want.
Yeah. You can't tag him again. You just can't do it.
And if they do, Dak need to sit out. Period.
Yeah, that's making a statement right there.
Period. He need to sit out.
That's making a statement. There's people that still believe that he's gonna end up somewhere else.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
I'm not surprised about that.
I'm one of them. I don't think they get a long-term deal done.
Okay.
I don't. I don't. I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna try to franchise him again, and and I would hope he sits out.
Yeah.
I would hope he sits out.
Yeah. Yeah, we know the short history with that. When you tag a quarterback twice, he's gone, i.e. Kirk Cousins. So, yeah. Speaking of Kirk Cousins and the team that he used to play for, I've heard that they are expected to cut Alex Smith at some point this offseason, if not later than sooner. I'm not surprised.
No.
I think
$19 million.
Alex Smith needs to just retire at this point. I'm happy that he came back, that he played, that he, overcame the leg and all that good stuff. He won Comeback Player of the Year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Happy for you, man, but nobody want to see you anymore.
I disagree. I disagree vehemently.
What, that nobody would want to see him?
Yeah, I think a few teams would pick Alex Smith up right now.
Oh God. Okay.
Telling me Chicago wouldn't pick him up right now? They wouldn't pay. They probably wouldn't have to. They probably wouldn't pay him $19 million, but they probably would. Now I'm saying, thinking about it, they probably would.
Yeah, they dumbasses would.
Think Jacksonville wouldn't pick him up right now?
Jacksonville
Jaguars with the number one pick. You think he wouldn't sit there and play big brother to Trevor Lawrence?
So are you insinuating that he would start?
No, I'm insinuating that as a former number one pick, that he would sit there and give Trevor Lawrence game.
Oh, okay. So you're talking of because I'm thinking of it as nobody wants to see him start anymore. I wasn't clear about that.
Oh, okay.
Nobody wants to see him start anymore. But if you're talking about, him being a veteran backup at this point, then yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
But that means he might have to play.
Yeah.
It means he might have to start a few games, and Alex Smith can start a few games.
It depends on what team he go to. If he go to the Bears, he definitely starting.
I guess it was. I was watching ESPN today. I guess it was somebody saying, "What about him going back to San Fran under Jimmy G?"
To be on the bench, right?
Yeah, under Jimmy G.
Not to replace him. Okay.
No, just under Jim. Yeah, like he got. And if I'm Alex Smith, I missed out on a couple of years of getting paid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me go ahead and collect a couple of bags before I'm on my way.
What backups get? They get like $10-12 million, right?
I know if I'm not mistaken, he got paid 19 last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would expect that number is right around the $11 million mark for backup. If you sign a 1 year,
if you the upper echelon backup, probably that. Why wouldn't I go get that in Jacksonville under the assumption that Trevor Lawrence is going to play 16 games.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I just got one more thing, man. So I just want to show the ladies some love. So the Atlanta Dream, one of the WNBA franchises, had a change of ownership this past week, and some history was made. Some great history was made. Renee Montgomery, who's a former WNBA player, is a part of a new investment group that has purchased the Atlanta Dream, along with her and a couple of other individuals. I want to give her a shout out
Shout out to her.
making history, number one. Number two, and I don't think we discussed this while teams were playing in a bubble and they had those games, postponed because the players were electing not to play because of what was going on. The former owner of the Atlanta Dream, I forget her name. She was a senator.
Some racist junk.
Yes. She was one that came out and was like, I'm not rocking with, with the girls, protesting throughout the game and all the messages and all that stuff. And she caught a lot of smoke, and rightfully so.
Yep.
And, I'm glad to see her not in this, a part of this ownership anymore.
Yep.
And, the girls, they took a major step forward. They let their voices be heard, and a change was made. And I'm very happy for these individuals, and in particular Renee Montgomery, because she used to be a former player.
Congrats. Congrats.
So congrats to her. You got anything else, man?
The last thing I got, man, is I am sick and tired of sports platforms that are as prominent and rich and well-resourced as ESPN making mistakes like confusing Future with 2 Chainz. So there was some type of advertisement or social media post. I don't know where it came from, who but they were talking about March Madness. Obviously, Future has the popular song March Madness. And obviously, that's a layup. With anytime March Madness, NCAA March Madness, all that comes around, it's a layup for the Future song to be, involved in the marketing material. But somehow or another, instead of a picture of Future, there was a picture of 2 Chainz.
Not the first time someone has made that mistake.
That's a problem. Y'all are too well-resourced. Y'all getting too much money to make that mistake and for it to go past. So I can't. Don't use my culture if you're so not in tune with my culture that you don't know the difference between Future and 2 Chainz. Don't use it. Period. It's appropriation. It's appropriation.
I would point more so to the fact that they are the most powerful sports engine on this planet, ESPN.
Don't make that mistake. Don't make that mistake with my culture. If you don't know, you need to get somebody in there that do. It's like y'all just Googled March Madness and magically Future came up, and whoever the hell, like nobody in that office knew the difference between Future and 2 Chainz.
Yeah,
that's a problem for me. Don't appropriate my culture if you can't. Don't appropriate my culture if you don't know the difference between 2 Chainz and Future. Period.
Yeah, I recall similar stories with ESPN where they've made and it's not like facial rec mistakes or anything like that, but similar cultural mistakes where they get a song mixed up with somebody else. I recall similar stories like that. So
I'm not
talking excusing them. Not that I'm excusing.
I'm not talking about like a commentator or analyst or something confused, getting that wrong. This is marketing material that you, man, you're gonna make me find it on Bleacher Report where I saw the story at. But
yeah,
I'm not talking about. I don't know, and I'm just saying Molly because I don't know. Maybe I got some inclination that maybe she don't listen to hip hop, which I don't really believe. But that's like Molly. I'm not talking about like Molly.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Molly going in there and calling J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar on accident. Like, I'm not talking about something like that. I'm talking about marketed material where you're using, like, you're putting this out as marketing, as a company, where you say, something about March Madness and, Future's supposed to be there because Future made March Madness, and then you put 2 Chainz. Like that means that this was a premeditated marketing. This was premeditated. You guys had a plan to say, let me play March Madness and put Future on there to give whatever. And you couldn't tell that wasn't Future. That was 2 Chainz. You didn't know.
Yeah.
But you played March Madness.
I agree, man.
But you played March Madness because obviously the name of the title, whatever. But you also recognize that hip hop kid like myself, or like the world at this point, we fuck with March Madness. We fuck with Future. So you need to know who Future is if you're going to be using that as your marketing material to get us to go to your channel or your platforms to talk about college basketball.
Go ahead, write him a letter, man. Go ahead and let him.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Tweet him out, man.
I don't like it. Y'all need to do better. ESPN.
Go ahead and get that complaint in, brother. Hey, I had I'm sorry. I did have one more thing here on the list. Just something interesting that came up yesterday on Twitter regarding unpaid internships. And it all got started when Jane Slater, who works for the NFL Network and mostly covers the Dallas Cowboys every week, had put something on Twitter posting an opportunity for internship in the sports journalism field, but it was an unpaid internship, and she was just looking to see if anybody wanted to take interest in that. And once she posted that, immediately everybody started giving her smoke about, offering somebody an unpaid opportunity. Now, part of the problem is that, and I just learned this about Jane Slater, something I learned about her that I didn't know yesterday, was that her grandfather was, I guess, a well-known, wealthy guy, back in the day, and, had all kinds of assets and stuff, and, was able to help his family out and all that stuff, including her. So while she was going back and forth with people on Twitter, she was explaining how in the industry that's, so hard to get into, that, people would, jump out of bed just to get any one of those internships, regardless of whether it was paid or not. And what people took an issue with is that she was privileged enough to work an internship unpaid because of her family's, wealthy background. So in other words, she had an opportunity to work a job and not get paid because her necessities or her housing or food and other things that you need to live off of were taken care of by her family. That's what was put out there by people who disapproved of them putting it out there.
Yeah.
So I'll say this to just kind of wrap this up, right? So I've always known internships, and again, and I'm just saying this in general. I'm not talking about the sports journalism field. I'm just talking in general. I've always known internships to be paid opportunities. Now, it's, it might be a minimum wage situation, it might be a little bit above that, but it's a paid opportunity, and it's also a situation where people get to learn the craft, people get to talk to different people, pick their brain and all that stuff. Kind of similar to, sports and journalism and things like that. You get to do the same things, talk to people, get, make connections and things like that. My biggest deal is that not everybody is put in a situation where they can take an unpaid internship. Like me coming up, I had to work. You know what I mean? I had bills to pay. So I wasn't gonna take no. I don't want to call it a job, because an internship is not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a job. It's more so a project than anything. I wouldn't take an unpaid internship if I thought my bills were going to be covered by somebody else. I wouldn't do that. I would take something where I'm getting some bread on the side. Or if I have a job and maybe an internship on a part-time level is available, then yeah, I'll take that as long as I know I got some income, regardless of whether it's coming from. But for people that are unclear about internships, it's not a job. It's it's a project, and it's a situation where, yeah, you can learn all the natures of the business, but don't get it twisted. I'm not I'm not working for free, knowing that I got stuff that's got to get covered. So I wonder if you got some thoughts about that.
I if you get my definition of an internship is completely different from yours. You saying that you're not internships aren't paid. And I'm sure that they have internships where they throw you something, though they don't have to pay you as much, but pay you what you're worth doing what you're doing. But my entire life experience on internships has been that of it's a opportunity for you to grow and learn in that company, an opportunity that you would not have otherwise because you don't have the qualifications to do the job. It is a free. You're not working for money. You're working for experience. That's been my experience of what an internship is.
I think we said the same thing though.
Okay, I thought you said that internships should be paid.
No, I was saying that internships aren't jobs. Internships are projects.
Okay, I misheard you then. Okay, so you shouldn't. I mean, if you can find a paid, I mean, the reason why the term paid internships exists because an internship is normally not paid. The term is internship. Like the term paid is included for people who happen to get paid on their internship. But even then, I would imagine that it's not you getting paid like an extravagant amount of money. You know what I'm saying? You're getting paid less than you would if you had a job per se. Otherwise, it'd just be called a job. For those that give her flack about her situation where she could take an internship because all right, I mean, you can go that route, but I mean, if you were in her situation and you could intern for Jay-Z and you could cover your bills, you'd intern for Jay-Z because of the knowledge you would gain from Jay-Z.
Yep.
If you want to get into politics and Michelle Obama wanted you to work an internship with her, but you could still pay your bills, you would go do that.
You would go for it, yeah.
Because you can pay your bills and you can. So I mean, some people. I mean, internships are normally things for younger people because they're young. They don't have as many bills. They might not. They don't have kids or. Have to pay, they're probably living with their peoples or they're in college, you know what I'm saying? Like their expenses are paid for so they can allot time to gaining experience. in hopes to one day turn it into a profession. So look, I'm not gonna give Shorty no flack behind offering an internship or jokingly offering an internship, whatever the hell she was doing to try to gauge.
She wasn't. No, it was no joke. It was no joke.
Oh.
It was a serious opportunity that she heard of from someone and decided that she wanted to share the opportunity for anyone that was interested. And again, it's in the context of sports journalism. It's not in any other field. It's strictly sports journalism. And, people started tweeting and saying, hey, if you're talking sports journalism, then yeah, there's people that have had to, work some nights and then maybe go do an unpaid internship or vice versa.
Hell, I was doing an internship. 2014. I mean, I could only do it because I'm an old man and I need my sleep. But I did it for. I did it for a strong. I did it for a strong 3 months before I couldn't take it no more. Shout out to my man A-Rock in Greenhouse Studios. I would get home from work at 12 in the morning, change out, go straight to the studio from 1 till 8 in the morning.
Yep.
Just enough time to catch a nap and get ready for work again. I ain't get paid a damn dime, but the experience.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
When it comes to internships, it's all about experience, making connections with people, and being able to grab knowledge of the industry that you're interning at.
Yeah.
That's really what it's all about. And just to kind of add this to a close, the folks that were giving her slander,
Yep. Yep, you definitely just went out.
paid. The issue they had about how she was able to work an unpaid internship. And quite frankly, I don't think that's anybody's business. If you ask me.
You went out for
if she was
a
honest
second
about it from the jump. No, I was saying I don't think it's anybody's business of her family and how wealthy her people are. But sure, if she would have came out and said, hey, when I did this internship for free, I was living at home and, my bills were taken care of. If she'd have came out and said that, I would have had no problem with it, but I'm certainly not going to come at her because she left that out because she's trying to promote an opportunity for someone.
Yeah, because that opportunity might have worked for somebody. So everybody on Twitter that ain't got nothing to do, go find something to do.
Absolutely.
Go find something to do. Go find something to do.
But everyone was just bringing up different industries. Like, that's what kind of just made this thing take off. Like, nobody kept it to the context of
I don't give a damn what context it was. If I want to do an internship learning how to unclog a toilet from a master plumber, and I wasn't getting paid for it, but I really wanted to learn that field and I could do it, then that's my business. I'm gonna learn how to do it and hopes to be the best goddamn toilet unclogger I could possibly be. So what? That's what people do to get on the job experience.
Hey, man, go ahead and get them plungers, man.
Yeah, bro. Like, the fuck out of here.
Go ahead and get that, man. Shout out to Rough Buff in our Facebook live chat. Appreciate you, homie. Just want to wrap the show up real quick here. Make sure you guys follow us on our social media. We're on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. Also on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Also, if you're watching this on Facebook Live right now, make sure you continue to follow the Facebook page. Let a friend know to click the like button. Also, for our YouTube Live viewers, make sure you let somebody know. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
And then if you got any questions or Anything you want to email us, the email is barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. And you can find this podcast on our platforms. We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcast, and iHeartRadio. So